Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great Saturday. The sun is shining. It's cool outside. Unfortunately, the poor little Bambies are running for their lives today. They're running for their lives. Opening day of deer season, understand? So it's one of the happy holidays in the state of Texas. Everybody's out there trying to get their freezers full already. But kind of going to what was talked about in the earlier segments today. We'll be talking a little bit about firearms and about firearms around your house. There's been a lot of things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, especially some of the mass shootings and things of that nature. And this is a firearms show. And by all means, we're pro firearms, and I'm pro firearms. But I think you need to know and have some proper training. And, you've got your host of the show, Mr. Matt, who has the opportunity for everybody to get that done. So that's what I'm basically going to talk about today a little bit. Now, also, a couple of things that I think is important for everybody to understand. And I have to get on my soapbox about this a little bit. We talked about just a few minutes ago about rhetoric and about, especially if you've been watching any of the television, you can't get over rhetoric. Well, I have a simple definition for rhetoric. It's those that can really talk good bullshit. Now, I'm not going to use the other word, but that's what rhetoric is. It's people that try to convince you of one thing. So the only thing I'm going to say is this about politics, because I hate to talk about politics. Politics and religion, the two things that tear families apart, tear friends apart. But if you don't go vote this coming Tuesday, then I personally feel you don't have the right to complain and gripe about anything that's going on. So my encouragement is, whoever you vote for, even if it's for Donald Duck or Daffy Duck, go out there and cast a vote. Have your voice be heard, because otherwise you really don't have a right to complain. And think about that a minute. I know that the last, especially in city elections and state elections, apathy runs really wild around our country, and sometimes it does about the use of firearms as well. So when you have a chance to make a voice or say something, go out and do that. I think there was an election that was held not too far from here, that a city election. I think the turnout was 12 votes yes for one candidate, 9 votes for the no for the other candidate, vice versa. When you only have 20 votes cast in a precinct, there's really something wrong when a city's got 4,000 or 5,000 people in it. So get out there, exercise your right to vote, exercise your citizenship right. So, we hear the president, we hear all the counter against the president's talking about birthright, about being a citizen, about not being a citizen. Part of the responsibility of being a citizen is helping mold what happens in this country. You do that by your vote. So get out there. Every year many people are injured or hurt by improper storage or use of firearms, especially during hunting season. Many people go out, they haven't shot all year, and they think they can become the best shooter in the world by just going out. Unfortunately, when you don't practice, when you don't do things, you lose contact with what you're supposed to do as far as safety is concerned, as far as the marksmanship is concerned. So many times I get calls or get asked questions about weapons, and should I use a weapon in my home as a defense tool? I'm always asked my opinion about whether or not I support the idea of having a personal defense weapon. My favorite line to reply to those is real simple. Refer to the Second Amendment of the Constitution. You know what that says? And yes, there's a strong movement now by many about firearms, long guns, and about semi-automatic rifles. They're trying to push against that. I'm going to say it once again. It's not the gun that's doing the harming of people. It's the person pulling the trigger that's doing the harm to the people. What's the old saying? I'll give them my gun when they pry my dead cold hands away from it.
They're clingers.
Yeah. The thing is, folks, we need to understand that we have to have weapons in our country to protect ourselves. It's a bottom line. So I'm going to implore you, and I'm going to challenge you, that if you're going to have a weapon, know how to use that weapon. There may be they talked about earlier segment today about making the choices when someone challenges you, but somebody pulls a pressure on you or talks to you about something. Well, most people who carry weapons, Most, and I'm saying that strongly, most people who use weapons, they know when and when not to use it. They have the temperament to know. There are a few out there, but we can't control every person. We can't control what happens in our country by every segment of those who may be a little mentally off, or may have a axe to grind, or maybe they have a culture difference that they only know how to take out with a weapon. What I'm asking you to do, folks, is to understand that we have to be prepared. We have to be the one that goes out, and we have to be the one that takes the time. A weapon does not necessarily guarantee safety. Not knowing how to safely or effectively use a weapon is a weapon used against you. I do believe that everyone has a right to have a firearm for protection if they wish to. Whatever gun you choose to use for home defense, you should become familiar with it. A firearm can potentially save your life and the lives of your family, but it isn't the firearm per se that gets the job done. It's the person behind it. Skill and determination, reinforced by regular practice, and I'm going to say that again, skill and determination with a highlight on reinforced by regular practice will carry the day for you. It is vital that anyone who wishes to use a firearm be trained in that firearm. In our area, we have several gun ranges. Only the best one is Aaron's Gun Shop. That's the one you should go to because he knows what to do. He's got the temperament, he's got the ability, and he will help you become a better shooter. The overall top-rated choice for home defense guns, most of the time, everybody thinks is going to be a pistol. I'm here to tell you the best overall firearm for the home, in my opinion, is a shotgun of some kind, usually a short barrel shotgun. Revolvers though are ambidextrous. That's true. A revolver usually holds 6 cartridges, but some hold more, some hold less, etc. I have personally, for my home defense weapon, I use a Ruger Judge, and I keep it loaded the first 3 rounds with double-aught buck, and the last 3 rounds usually with some good old 45 long Colt. And that's made by Taurus, which is not a Ruger, it's a Taurus, I'm sorry. And I've had that gun now for about 10 years. I've taken it out, I've tried it, and I've practiced with it. I dispatched a snake not too long ago with it. Works great for things such as that. But you can't just grab your gun and commence firing when someone walks in the house. You've got to know what you're doing. You've got to know how to do it. One of the worst things you can do, one of the absolute worst things you can do for yourself, is to think you can just pick up a gun out of a dead sleep and shoot your target. Folks, too many tragedies have taken place. Too many things have happened when someone is not trained. If you're one of those type of sleepers, and you got to know yourself, but if you're one of those type of sleepers that gets startled easy, and when you get startled, you just kind of fly off the handle, there's nothing worse than shooting someone of your own family.
Can I add to that, Chief?
Absolutely.
Am I on here on this mic? Chief, there's a quick story. I'm not going to give you 100% details, but here's the deal with an inexperienced shooter. They're in bed at night. The husband hears a noise, picks up the gun, shoots, 3 to 5 rounds in the direction of the noise, ends up shooting his wife 3 times because he did not know, one, to check where everybody was, identify the threat. So you're absolutely right. Waking up from a sleep can be extremely dangerous.
It can be. And I know that here about 8 or 9 years ago, I'm familiar with a case out of the Houston area where a gentleman woke up in the middle of the night, the exact same scenario as Matt just said. And unfortunately, he shot his daughter that was coming in late at night. If you're not going to practice, if you're not going to plan, don't put a firearm in your home. That's my bottom line. I'm pro firearms. I believe in firearms. I think firearms are the safest. By God, we're in Texas. But I will tell you this. If you're not going to take the time to learn how to use it, don't to put yourself and your family at risk, especially if you've got younger children. Make sure how to know what to do with those firearms. Make sure know how to put them up. If you can't do that, then you don't need one. Kids explore drawers, cabinets, and closets. They love to do that. It's better to talk about it now about your child when they're young than wait for when they're older and an accident could have already taken place. Teach your child that if they find a gun, they should leave it alone. Tell them to leave the room and to tell an adult right away. That also goes along if your child is going to stay at grandpa's house, grandma and grandpa's house, or aunt and uncle's house, or just another friend's house. If they see a gun, explain to them when they're young, the safety factors involved. Explain to them how dangerous it is, that they have to be able to stay away from certain things. You know, when I was growing up, every Christmas, I had an uncle named Uncle Cleve out of Dallas. And every single Christmas, and I think that's probably why I became a police officer, he gave me what was the name? Trigger and Roy Rogers cap and gun set. Of course, I had to put some extra string in it with my size, but, you know, I wore that probably every year. And I know for 6 years straight, I had those. Guns were a part of my life, part of my family's life. We had them around our house. If you're going to have a gun, know what to do with it. Know how easy it is for it to go off and hurt someone. The bottom line is, lock your guns up, use your guns, make sure you practice with your weapons. Practice, practice, practice. Folks, I'm about out of time, and I want to cut this off today with just saying a couple of quick things. You know, if you're going to take care of your family, you've got to take care of them in all ways, not just by financially. Take care of them mentally, physically, but if you're going to do it, and you're going to do it with a firearm, make sure you have that firearm ready for them. So, without any further ado, folks, I hope you have a great, great week. Enjoy this weekend. It's supposed to start raining tomorrow. Watch a couple of football games on this weekend, and have a great weekend, everybody. Good luck to the deer hunters.